Everyone. I hope you enjoyed the evening in Rome yesterday and you are refreshed to start this second day of the conference. Before we start with our next session, I have a couple of things I want to say. So today we're going to have a poster session next to the coffee break. The poster session is going to be during lunch break, so the presenters will be there. So we encourage you to just visit those posters and ask questions and engage. And the speakers of the poster sessions, so that a few are already there, but please put your posters up because you can also use the coffee break because it's in the same space. So yeah, that's one announcement on the poster session. Of course, the exhibition will be there again, so it's another nice opportunity to engage with developers and communities around this conference. And then the other thing that's very important, somebody forgot his or her cell phone at the security check, so please check. If you're missing your cell phone is at the security checks. All right, so I think we can get the day started. We have a very dense program today, and I'm going to now give the floor to Steve, who's going to kick us off. Steve, over to you.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I hope you're well rested and ready for another day of action. So this morning we have our session on SDMX in action. I stress that's in action and it's not inaction. So we have 6 speakers or 6 sessions this morning. We have a no-show. So for those of you who are working off your paper agenda, the presentation from Côte d'Ivoire is a no-show. So what we'll do is we'll do a bit like yesterday. We'll have 3 speakers up here. We'll do a quick Q&A after that, and then we'll rotate and we'll bring up the next set of speakers. So without any waste of time, let me introduce Frederick Stibling, who's going to present from Static, Enhancing Data Dissemination through Improved SDX Modeling at Static.
Hello, everyone. So I will present you enhancing data dissemination through improved SDMX modeling at Static Luxembourg. So the presentation is divided in 4 parts. First, background and motivation, and then the organization and collaboration, and SDMX data modeling, and to finalize lesson learned and next step. So let's start with the background and motivation. So Static migrated to .stat suite for data dissemination in March 2022. The migration was needed because the previous tool became depreciated. And then there was a certain urgency to migrate more than 650 tables in a short time. And then the focus was more done on migration deadline than on modeling exercise. And we realized that bad modeling is equal to a bad user experience. So here you can have an overview of LUSTAT, which is now our database, which is based on .stat suite. And I will show you some bad experience. For example, here in the filter, we use some generic concept. This concept was taken from the previous tool. So we have a generic concept which was used excessively. So specification is used for everything. And then the consequence that in the specification we can find everything: local region, number of room, average, everything. And also we have a lot of result, which is very bad experience for the user. And here, as you can see, there is a mix of concept. There is sometimes a concept duplicates with a typo, with a singular, plural, or with an accent, something like that. And we have also sometimes some duplicates in the concept. So we take a decision to put in place an organization and a mean to collaborate with the business. So the question was how to introduce SDMX good modeling practice in a small organization. Statec is a very small organization, around 250 staff members. The business statisticians are already busy with the daily tasks. SDMX modeling has also a certain entry cost. And there was also a misunderstanding of the data modeling practice. And the question the business frequently asks is it really needed for Statec? So this is the approach we decide. So first we set up an horizontal team composed of an external SDMX expert, which is Clément in this room, dissemination manager, supervision of a methodology expert, and a chief information officer. And there is also project management, including regular reporting to higher management. So the new approach with the business, we decide. We have also an IT support for .stat maintenance. And we also receive technical support from OECD colleagues with regular workshops and by using ticketing tools. So here it's a recap of the different steps. So now we decide to initialize the modeling. So we use GitLab to exchange with the business through the ticket. We have a .stat Academy to learn what is exactly the modeling. We use also some resource on Neurostat side, and we receive support of our OECD colleague. And then we can start with the modeling exercise. So we use still GitLab for the exchange with the business. We use the SDMX matrix generator for the modeling, for building the structures. And we have, of course, the support of OECD colleagues. And then when the modeling is done, so we ask to the business for a validation, still through GitLab. And when the validation is done, so we can publish on .stat, which is a .stat data explorer. So the SDMX data modeling. So I will show you here another example. This example is about the census data. How we proceed? So first we receive some input from the business, shape on the EU census requirement. It was based on 111 data flows and 10 DSDs, and by using also a content constraints. We use more or less 40 concepts, including common concepts, 30 code lists, including reuse and new code list. So here it's an example. So if we search, for example, for, can I show with a please?
Yes.
Okay, so here you can see highlight in orange. This is a filter when you search for census data. So you have 111 dataset found. On the left side, you can see how the behavior was before. So when the modeling was not done. So you have here duplicate a concept. One time it's name age group, and another time is name age class. But it's exactly for the same thing. As you can see between brackets, we have on the top customize ID we create in static, but it was already created in the previous tool. And below you can see now the real code list we use with the correct IDs. So here it's before. As I said, there are a similar concept. Here, customer ID. And here is a situation after, so we remove this. And now we have only one concept and we use the common code list. This is another example for still for census data. So on the left side is the situation before. As you can see, as we create several code lists, because it was one code list for one data flow, so we have sometimes some duplicates with different IDs and with different typo, for example, as I said before, singular, plural, etc. And now the situation is like that. So it's before. As you can see here, we have several items for females. And now we remove this and we have a unique concept for sex and we use the common code list. And we also benefit of the .stat functionality. So here we can see that by using a same DSD for several data flow, we can have here automatic link generate in .stat. So the user can find other result. So what are the lessons learned and the next step? So we had a lack of experience with data modeling. We need a technical assistance and sharing of knowledge. The challenge during the migration was the challenge was to manage a cross-domain artifact as code list and concept. And we need also to define internal guidelines for designing and maintaining the artifact. Now, the business also better understand the added value of modeling, the importance of IT and OECD support to solve technical issue, and the long-term effort to improve data modeling for all data flows. So now we need also to be adapted for future development of the .stat suite. And the question was also about the centralized and decentralized organization of the modeling. So the next step, we need to finalize the current modeling project. Now it's around 50 completion weight. And you also need to bring SDMX modeling practice to other national authorities that disseminate statistical data in our database. And we would like also to integrate SDMX into a static new data strategy under development. And we would like to explore and implement more advanced AI-driven search capabilities based on SDMX. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Frederic. So two important lessons there I take. So bad modeling equals bad user experience. And I think the importance of technical assistance was highlighted too, which is something I think we overlooked a bit yesterday. So it's good to hear that. So now let me introduce Sam Cleland from New Zealand, and he will talk about enhancing data discovery. Sam?
Thank you. Good morning. So I'm going to be talking through Stats NZ journey using STMX and the .stats suite. This originally started as a platform modernization program, but we have since realized, and I will explain for why, we're now viewing it as enhancing data discovery through STMX. So to set the scene of modernizing our customer data tools, we've been on to legacy systems for quite a number of years. One of those being nz.stat, which is based on an older version of the .stat suite, and InfoShare, which is based on the PC Access suite. And for our tool modernization, we chose the .stat suite again as the platform that we wanted to move to. There's several reasons why we've had to move to a new platform. One of those is the two legacy systems are old, they were customized and difficult to upgrade. They weren't providing a modern data experience that customers would expect in the modern world. So we have completed our shift of nz.stat over to Aotearoa Data Explorer, and we are now in the discovery phase of shifting over our InfoShare platform. So for the migration off of nz.stat, there's a similar story to StatTech in that there was a high priority need to shift off the platform very quickly, as we had about a 4-week production outage of nz.stat. That really highlighted the urgency to get off of it. As I mentioned, there was a lot of customizations added to it, which made upgrading difficult, which is why we approached Aotearoa Data Explorer as a new platform and not an upgrade of the older .stat suite. Due to the time constraints, and it's easy to throw it in the too hard basket of metadata, we chose to descope that and only focus on a lift and shift approach of the data and metadata in its current form. And to achieve this, we implemented a ETL solution so we could transition rapidly. This required no change from the data producers. A third-party vendor built this for us, so we had no need to understand the STMX going on in the background. So we learned a lot from this first phase, the biggest one being inadequate metadata hinders ADE search and navigation. And the StatTech slides were an excellent example because we have all those exact same issues on our instance of the Data Explorer. One thing we look back on and wish we had looked at further was having clearer titles, descriptions, and categories that will enhance discovery. So this doesn't require the data modeling, which is a difficult challenge on its own. It is just the customer-facing metadata components that are much easier to work with. We found gaps in the governance we had at the organization. In a lot of cases, we had people or teams that owned the tools, but there was very little accountability for the standards and guidelines around how and what content was going on to those platforms. So this has ended up in a very siloed approach. One of the key learnings and one of the key successes from this first phase was having a beta customer group. So this is a group of selected customers from a range of industries and areas such as central government, banks, etc., that use our data heavily. And they were given access to earlier versions and were able to feed back into the features as they were being developed. And that enabled us to deliver a much better platform at the beginning. So we're now in the discovery phase, looking at shifting InfoShare data over to the Aotearoa Data Explorer. This is our key platform for holding economic time series, such as those big ones as GDP, CPI, and the likes. So there's a really strong focus, especially from the economic sector, on us getting this right. We really want to focus on improving the customer-facing metadata content. We've heard from lots of customers working through the browser that struggle to find data and information. We don't hear so much from really enthusiastic learners that are downloading the SDMX data models from the back end and working with those on their own platforms. So that is why we want to have a focus on that browser. We want to establish better SDMX and metadata capability via a center of excellence. Modern platforms require modern metadata, and this is a journey I think we're just starting to realize the importance, especially with a modern data tool such as Aotearoa Data Explorer, really highlights a lot more to customers that the metadata is not in the best state. We've also worked through upgrading Aotearoa Data Explorer to the container-based architecture and implementing some of that automated DevOps that the OECD have been working on. And this actually went live yesterday morning and will enable us to provide much quicker updates to bring in those bug fixes and new features that OECD are constantly rolling out. I wish I had more practical cases to talk to you about today, but it has been a slow journey for us looking at InfoShare. So I will talk about where we have seen real value coming through from SDMX and the lessons we've learned that we want to share with you if you're going to be looking at doing a similar program. So data modeling is going to improve our understanding of data. We haven't had a central standard or repository of any kind of data model stored at StatsNZ over the years. So this will be the first time we are really able to look at it, not as isolated silos of different data producing teams, but as a product of the statistics office as a whole. We really want to follow better design, following the content-orientated guidelines so we can improve the discovery and user experience. That is something we really want to do before moving larger volumes of data onto the platform and further muddying the waters. We've also been looking at .stat Suite, and the combination with FMR Workbench is a very powerful tool that's going to provide us with a streamlined one-stop shop for data producers to easier work with the data and metadata on the tool. We also see the SDMX governance work through in the content-orientated guidelines as being very powerful for enabling StatsNZ as an organisation to look at what are those concepts, code lists that are really important for customer data discovery, such as things like geography, age, business size, key things customers really want to find and compare against. That means we don't have to worry about all the small things like number of bedrooms, for example, that no one is going to want to compare against data sets. So the governance really allows us to do that while allowing those teams to have better autonomy over their own data. So our advice for others is start small and iterate to manage the complexity and ambiguity. Harmonizing data and moving to a new platform is a big undertaking, and you find a lot of challenges in the data, the metadata, and the business process side of the work. And the most useful beginning steps may not be obvious. For us, one of the big issues where we have inconsistencies is total labels on code lists are not standardized across the organization, so that is a very small and easier thing to achieve. The next is data migration is very different challenge from data modeling. Data modeling, independent of SDMX, which is a great tool for providing a way of doing it, is really challenging, especially when it's being introduced to an organization for the first time. We've also found it challenging to build and maintain SDMX capability and working with open source software. So we really encourage people to invest in capability early and leverage the global SDMX community. The main determining factor of ability to use SDMX is frequency at which you use it. So if you're a data producer only caring about your outputs annually once a year, you're not going to get that experience to build up the capability. And a key thing that we have learned from looking back at other projects of a similar nature at StatsNZ is that you have to ensure that momentum is carried past the projects. It is great to have a brilliant idea, put something in place, but if the business has not been enabled to carry on that work, it will be forgotten and it will fall back into silos. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. It's great to hear .stat suite being mentioned. So, and again, if anybody's interested in that tool, my colleagues are here. So please approach the OECD and we'll be happy to explain how you can get your hands on it. And again, we hear the importance of metadata, which again, we heard a lot about yesterday. So now we're staying south of the equator and we're moving over to empowering Pacific nation statistics through SDMX. So I think it's Dennis is starting, and then he'll be sharing with his colleagues. So Dennis, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Hi, everyone. Very happy to be with you this morning to share some experience about the setup of national data portals in the Pacific region. We are going to talk about a project that took place over about 1 year. So what happened is that in the mid 23, we noticed that the Pacific community, and talking with our colleagues in Samoa and Fiji, that there was some ambitions, let's say, to set up a national data portal. And we also noticed that there were other development partners that were active in that space, and in particular in the area of SDMX. So what happened is that we decided to create together a joint project in a partnership approach with the 5 organizations, so the Samoa Bureau of Statistics, the Fiji Bureau of Statistics, ADB, UNSCAP, and then SPC, where I'm working. So the idea was to set up a national data portal based on SDMX and more specifically on the .stat suite. So from the Pacific community side, this was supported through the Pacific Data Hub program. It's a program financed by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade from New Zealand, where we make available several data applications on the web, but we also promote the use of data in the Pacific region through capacity building and outreach activities. So just very quickly, so it was a one-year project. We made a joint project, but with different tracks. We have the red track, for instance, is the Samoan track, and the blue track is the Fijian track on the project schedule. Implementation was slightly shifted, but the capacity building track was totally joint. So we had joint events all together to share about experiences, challenges, and have a sort of synergy in the project on that aspect. So a series of events took place. We had 4 capacity building workshops, 2 in Fiji, 2 in Samoa, 2 on-site IT support missions, 1 in each country, and 2 official launching events that officially launched the data portals in the country. I'm going to hand over to my colleague Shiala for the Samoan point of view on this.
Good morning, all. Thank you, Denise. I'll be talking about our little island Samoa and our experience, how we the implementing of the .stat suite. It all started 3 years ago, when Samoa got the opportunity to present in Thailand when they launched their data portal. And then we talked about how our dissemination practice in Thailand, and then we told them, well, why don't we have our own in the Pacific? So it all started from there, and then we are talking with the ATP, UNSCAP, and then with the help of SPC in the region. So probably what I'll be talking about is what you guys were facing 10 or more years ago, and then here we are. Thank goodness we're coming along with you guys. So we were like reviewing the skills gaps, because and not everyone knows about SDMX, even though we have our internet that we our website that we publish our data. So we were trying to adapt the skill caps to the new tools, and so we were working on the data cleaning from fragment to standards, because some of our reports that we publish online with the tables have a different formatting and namings. For example, our CPI, our national counts, and then we were looking at the structuring the metadata for usability and interoperability, and then building the understanding across the government agency. We went really slow in that, so we took the approach with the central bank and Ministry of Finance if we could collaborate, and then we were telling them more how SDMX works. And then with this challenging, it directs link with our statistics strategy that we are now working aligned with to strengthen our institutions and our human capacity. So our strategic need, yes, of course, maybe it's all the same here, for a centralized data portal. And so how we working with implementing this, we took some comprehensive technical training, as our colleagues Denise mentioned, with ADP and UNSCAP, and also some of the office we're working on these trainings, and then also with strong executive support. And then 2 years later, we got a data portal. But then hearing you guys yesterday, what you are going through now, I was like, whoa, you guys are way ahead of us, but at least we are taking baby step. But I think now we're at the toddler stage right now. So I think that's it from us in Samoa. I think my 3 minutes is up now.
Thank you. For Fiji, we have launched in June the national data portal early this year. The initiative was to improve collaboration and communication across statistical units and ministries, and also to achieve greater data transparency, accessibility to support national development goals. It also boosted technical capacity for our staff, Fiji Bureau of Statistics, through targeted training and knowledge exchange. On motivation, the question is why the new Fiji data portal is a game changer. The new data portal wasn't created just to put numbers on the website. It was built with a clear purpose to revolutionize how Fiji uses the data, shared data, and why it's important. The first one is, ladies and gentlemen, to break down barriers. For years in Fiji, valuable data are locked away in different government ministries and organizations. The real problem wasn't a lack of information, but the lack of access to it. This project directly addresses that issue by tearing down these data silos and creating a single central hub for everyone, from government officials to NGOs and the private sector, to access the same and reliable information. And the second one is powering better decisions by making data readily available. The portal empowers leaders to make smarter, faster decisions, whether they are tackling challenges in education, health, or climate resilience. They now have the facts that they need to create more effective policies and plans. The third one, ladies and gentlemen, to connecting Fiji to the world. This project aligns Fiji with global best practices in data sharing by adopting the international standards like StatSuite and SDMX. Fiji now part of the global ecosystem. This ensures our data is consistent and can be easily shared with international partners, which is a major step forward for statistical interoperability. Next one, the new era of openness. The portal signals a fundamental shift toward greater transparency. It provides a central, easy-to-use resource for the public, including students and researchers, to access the national statistics they need. This promotes a more open and informed society. Similarly, the last one, next one, the stronger, the more resilience foundation. Hosting the portal in the cloud makes it durable and resilience piece of digital infrastructure. For a country as vulnerable to national disasters in Fiji, this enhanced resilience ensures that critical data remains accessible even during a crisis. On the experience and lesson learned, a model of collaboration, this initiative was a true team effort. It brought together the Fiji Bureau for Statistics with key development partners like SPC, UNESCAP, and the ADB. This collaboration model, which include hands-on workshops, was crucial for turning the vision into reality and ensuring that knowledge was effectively shared. On the regional knowledge sharing, Fiji project was designed to work alongside a similar project in Samoa. We take our cue from Samoa. I mean, in terms of approach, we are a bit similar the way we do things with Samoa by engaging the Reserve Bank, the central bank of Fiji. This created a unique opportunity for regional knowledge transfer, allowing both countries to learn from each other and take a shared approach for modernization. I'll move on to the next steps. What comes next with the portal launch in June? By expanding the data, sustainable partnership, driving data use, and the last one, colleagues, friends, paving the way for a digital future. The success of the data portal is a major step forward for the Fiji's National Digital Strategy and the National Development Plan. It can serve a foundation for future digital transformation initiatives, helping the country build a more digitally empowered and resilient future. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's quite inspiring to hear how you guys are cooperating and progressing so fast. So it's fantastic. But again, we hear the importance of shared capacity building, which I think is a message that we need to take into account. So we have time for a few questions now. I guess, Frederick, you're not taking questions, is that? But the floor is open. So, Abdullah?
Yeah, so thank you. I'll be so bold as to ask two questions. One to Luxembourg, if they are taking questions. Yes, which is quickly, why did you have to model the census data set and didn't take advantage of the European Census Hub, which I think has structures for census? I'm really curious about that. And my question to the colleagues from SPC, Samoa and Fiji is, the Pacific region is quite specific and interesting. You have many countries which are very small and their statistical offices are small. So can you say a few words about the scaling of efforts, the challenges that you encounter and the approach that you selected to implement these technologies? Thank you.
So before we answer, let me just see if there's any other questions. So gentleman here.
Yeah. Thanks. Brian Buff from BIS. I have a question for New Zealand. So you launched this project and did all of these great changes as a result of a catastrophic event, if we would say, with 4 weeks being offline. So how do you intend to sustain these changes? So, because it's easy after all the excitement dies down for things to revert back to old ways. So have you thought about like corporate policies or standards, or what approach have you considered? Thanks.
Okay, anybody else? Bruno had promised me 10 questions at least, so I'm expecting one. Okay, I don't see any more, so let's just let's go back to the speakers. So, Frederick,
Thank you. So regarding the census hub, in fact, we reuse what was existing on the census hub, but due to the business request, they want to adapt to customize the data. So we need to change some concept or to add the concept. And one thing is about the measure and unit of measure, because in Statec we decide to integrate a measure and unit of measure for all of our DSD, and Eurostat are not using measure, for example. So that's why we decide to modelize our own manner.
Yes. Thank you very much, Abdullah, for this question. It's something that I'm very happy to how to say discuss a bit more. So it's indeed in the Pacific there are very various countries. Our colleagues from Samoa and Fiji are amongst the largest NSOs and the most resourced and skilled staff there. So it's a case where they could, start the journey there relatively autonomously. There are other offices where we are starting to work with some offices with less than 10% in the NSO. So they are still doing census, national accounts, and things like that. So it's it's a very specific context in terms of resource constraints. So the way we address that is that we consider we are developing now from the Pacific communities different sharing models for supporting countries that are members of SPC. So we can provide support on such type of project on data portals or improving dissemination through standardization. But we can also provide hosting or not for countries. We can manage the applications, meaning in our context mostly .stat or not for the countries. Or we can also support in the content preparation, meaning SDMX modeling, data and metadata preparation and publication. So consider a range, if you want, of activities there that and the model we are developing now, we consider that as a linear, a set of linear steps where we can do more or less for countries depending on their needs and their context. So that is how we address that in the extension of this type of projects in the Pacific region. Now, if something that is really, I believe, worth mentioning in this conference is that no standardization, standards. It's a way to I would say capture and encapsulate best practices, global best practices, and make reusable solutions of that. It's true for SDMX, it's true for standard software, like .stat is becoming a clearly one. But so that in a resource constraint context like ours in the Pacific, where the context is quite extreme, we cannot afford to reinvent the wheel in no way. So standardization is really a key element in reusing what other bigger organizations or other regions have developed and benefit from the experience of other partners directly in our context. So this we really build on standards very much for this also. Thank you.
Yeah, just before I hand over to Sam, I would ask the question. I don't think anybody can afford to reinvent the wheel. So I think that's something we should all think about. Sam?
Thank you for your question. So a couple points to make first, but it will end with we are still working out and discovering how we are going to approach this. We are finding it's very easy to say there's a bad user experience. So what? The data still goes out the door. That is, the KPIs are data goes out, data doesn't have errors. So the two things we're starting with to approach this is, one, we have an excellent change manager on the project who's concerned with the people side of the work. It's all well and good to change technology and data and standards, but at the end of the day, it is the people that need to adapt to that change, and people in the current climate with a lot of work just to get BAU stuff out the door don't like change. The other one is we are trying to sell the need for metadata and where it's gone wrong in the past. Over the last 25 years, there's been a number of projects around the same theme of standardize, harmonize, work for metadata better, and none of those have delivered the full benefits that they've claimed because people lose interest, funding goes away. So we have been working on a story to tell to the executive leadership team of why this is so important, why it needs their support, and why they need to push that down their respective branches, because it just can't come from our one customer services branch.
Thanks, Sam. Okay, so we're pretty much bang on schedule halfway through, so I'd ask the speakers to swap over so if we can get our next group of speakers up quickly. Okay, so if we're all settled, we're going to move now to integrating data across statistical agencies, making standards and partnerships work. So we have Sarah Beasley from the ONS, Jeffrey Karuki from the Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics, and Abdullah Gonzola from UNSD. So I'm not sure who's speaking. Sarah, okay.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to start this joint presentation about integrating data across statistical agencies, making standards and partnerships work. And really, in this instance, we're focusing on the Sustainable Development Goals. So I thought I'd start by just highlighting why we should report national SDG data and the importance of that. So ultimately, it's a great way of monitoring progress over time. And really, we want that to sort of inform decision making and help integrate SDGs into any existing processes. A huge part of the Sustainable Development Goals is ensuring that no one is left behind. So if countries can report their national data, they can include as many disaggregations as they like, and that can help explore links as well with different goals where topic areas might overlap and there's intersectionality. Obviously, by reporting national data, you can gain a better idea of how the globe is doing towards the goals. And also another great benefit of disseminating that data to a different range of users is that it can inspire and engage other stakeholders, whether that's from children at school to policymakers who can make a real difference. So that's where OpenSDG comes in. So OpenSDG is an open source, free to use platform which countries and organizations can use to report their data and statistics on the Sustainable Development Goals. So the ONS in the UK manage and develop that as a product, and we help other countries to implement that as a way of reporting their SDG data. So we currently have over 50 different implementations of OpenSDG with an overall aim of sort of trying to inform decision making for a more sustainable future. There's a lot of key features of OpenSDG. I'll just go through a few of them now. But just to reiterate that it is open source and free to use and all hosted on GitHub, which means it's version controlled. Countries are able to disseminate their data in multiple languages. And the platform supports SDMX alongside other data inputs, including Excel and CSV. But we also have integrated .stat and PXWeb as data backends as well. And users of the websites can visualize the SDG data in different ways. That's chart, table, or map format if they have reference area data, alongside any of their disaggregations, as many as they'd like. And of course, they can also display their metadata below where the chart and table and graph sit, map sit, sorry. We've recently just introduced some automatic progress calculations. So we've been working with StatCan and we've integrated this method of automatically calculating progress. So countries are able to display little gauges as to how each indicator is performing. Another huge part of the work that we do at ONS is to build capacity in different countries, and that's part of our international development program. So some recent examples is of how we've been working in the African region in collaboration with the UN Economic Commission for Africa, the UNSD, and the African Development Bank. The next slide just shows a bit visually about the work we've been doing. So some of these countries have been able to pull their national SDG data together, which is by no means an easy task in itself. And the UNSD have been delivering training on how to convert that data into SDMX. Then the AFDB have delivered training on how to upload that onto their Open Data Portal 2.0. And then what happens is countries can use an API that comes from the ODP platform and link that data directly into OpenSDG, where users can then visualize that data and they can disseminate it to anyone that they would like. And really, this is all helping to work towards an overall aim of reducing the reporting burden for countries in this region, where there's a lot of demands for data and in different places. And by doing it in this way, we're able to focus on having a single source of the truth where that data can be managed in one centralized place and then pulled in any direction. So OpenSDG really is just one example of that. So I now pass over to Geoffrey, who is going to give his experience for Kenya.
Thank you, Sarah, and good morning, everyone. I'm going to present the Kenyan experience in terms of the use of SDMX, and it's a pleasure to be here. So before I start, I think I related my colleagues from Samoa and Fiji in terms of how different countries are at different levels in terms of implementation of the SDMX. And we are still at the initial levels of implementation at Kenya National Bureau of Statistics and in Kenya as a whole. So in terms of strategic alignment of why we have chosen to use SDMX is that we have a joint strategy for the development of statistics. That is Kenya Strategy for the Development of Statistics, 2023 to 2028. That is supposed to run for 5 years. That's better. It's supposed to run for 5 years, and we have a government digitization agenda. And all through our dissemination, we have had challenges. Our users have been complaining about our dissemination of statistics. We have very many fragmented platforms that have different structures, different ways of operating. It's not easy for them to use. We have weak synergies across the NSS, and mostly our dissemination has been through our website in terms of PDFs and Excel documents, and we wanted to make sure that we digitize that so that our users are able to better access that data. So in Kenya, the structure is different in terms of statistics. We have statistics at national level, where the National Bureau of Statistics operates for policy purposes. But we also have the devolved units that we call the counties, the 47 devolved units, and we're supposed to assist them to also produce and disseminate data. So it's a big burden for us to produce, disseminate statistics at national level and also support the counties. So this is one of the ways we are trying to assist them to actually disseminate data so that we're no longer producing Excel documents, we're no longer producing PDF documents. And as Sarah said, of course, why SDMX? There are so many advantages in terms of standardization, interoperability, and other things. I don't think I'll go through this slide. But our implementation of Open SDGs is on, and I think it's much welcome by our users. And it allows access to the data and the metadata. We have been talking about metadata since yesterday and the importance of metadata, and allows, most importantly, our users to download the data in various formats. So we are no longer doing PDFs, Excels. We are going to download the data in with different formats that our users actually appreciate. Customization of visualization is also very important, but we have also gone further to do a user guide for our users. Different countries have different capacities, so we felt our users need a user guide so that they're able to better navigate the platform. And as Sarah said, we're also implementing the monitoring of the progress of the SDGs. And apart from that, we also have the Open Data Portal 2, implemented together with the African Development Bank. And now this one, we're going to be using it for the macro data. And we are arranging that data in the classification of statistical activities in terms of domains so that it's easier for our users to discover that data. And it also allows the data to be downloaded in the various formats. You can see Excel, CSV, etc., etc. And there's a shift from now having very many platforms with different structures, with a lot of resources to maintain, to actually having one platform that our users actually can use to access and download this data. And going further, we are going to use this for the devolved units, the ones we call the counties, so that you're also able to integrate the data from now PDFs to actually in a digital format that is actually machine readable, that is AI ready. And the ultimate goal, which I think is a moving target, I don't think this one is static, is to have integration between the data producers at the top, exchange of SDMX, and then we have the different dissemination platforms. The idea here is to make sure there's integration between all the platforms, and then we'll have continuous feedback from our users to the left and to the right, so that we're also getting feedback from our users in terms of, is this delivering whatever they want? What are the new needs? What are the evolving needs? And how can we better meet these needs? And I think I want to thank the organizers of this conference, because I think there are different capacities across the countries, and this is a very good platform for us to come and see what other countries are doing, learn from them, collaborate, not compete, and actually try to be at par, if not better, with what other countries are doing. So that's our Kenyan experience, young, but we are growing. So I give it to my colleague, Abdullah, to close. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jeffrey and Sarah. And I would just like to talk very quickly about two aspects of the SDMX standard, which are not always appreciated enough, I think. The first one is how SDMX facilitates collaboration both at the national level and at the international level. Because what we've seen in the past too many times is how an international partner approaches a national statistical office and brings a dissemination platform, which they set up and use, and then another partner approaches them with another platform, which they also set up and use. Before you know it, the NSO is burdened with having to maintain 2 or 3 or more dissemination platforms, having to spend resources on maintaining them, and the data is always out of sync. In the end up, they all die their natural death without much benefit. SDMX facilitates collaboration, as it did in this case, between the African Development Bank that is provided capacity building and installed the web services, UNSD, which provided training on conversion, and SDG, DSD, and of course, UNSC, who managed the project, and the ONS that brought the dissemination platform. And very quickly, one extremely powerful aspect of SDMX, which I think is hugely, sorely underappreciated, is the possibility of having dissemination platform for global reporting structures. OpenSDG is just the first and so far the only example that I know of. But what it enables countries to have is once they set up their reporting data flow, they get dissemination for free. Or if you turn it another way, once you set up your dissemination for the SDGs, for example, then you get your reporting for free. Think about if someone developed a dissemination platform for macroeconomic statistics, how many dozens of countries report their macroeconomic statistics? A platform such as OpenSDG would give all these countries their dissemination for free. And that is their buy-in, that is their interest in it. Yeah, so I'm almost done, but I hope to see dissemination platforms for macroeconomic statistics, for SDDS+, for GFS, for all the other data flows which are already in place. It's easy, it's doable, and I hope that in the end, there will be no reporting burden at all. It will be a benefit, not a burden. Thank you.